For a long time, people saw Gerry Turner as the symbol of hope, the kind of man who proved that love doesn't come with an expiration date. His journey captured hearts, not just because of romance, but because of honesty, vulnerability, and the belief that it's never too late to start again. But lately, something has changed. Not in a loud, dramatic way, not with a sudden announcement that shakes everything at once. Instead, it began quietly, in the tone of his voice, in the pauses between his words, in the way he chose to share something deeply personal. And when he finally did, it left people feeling a mix of emotions: surprise, empathy, and above all, a sense that this moment mattered more than anyone expected. Because this wasn't just another update. It was real. Gerry has always had a way of connecting with people. Maybe it's his calm presence or the way he speaks from the heart without trying too hard. When he talks, you don't feel like you're being told a story, you feel like you're part of it. And this time, the story took a more emotional turn. He opened up about changes in his life, personal shifts that haven't been easy to navigate, the kind of changes that don't always show on the surface, but are deeply felt behind the scenes. It's the kind of honesty that isn't always comfortable, but it's what makes someone truly relatable. There was no attempt to make things look perfect, no effort to hide behind a polished image, just a man being honest about where he is in life and what he's been going through. And strangely enough, that made people respect him even more. Because it's easy to celebrate the highs, it's much harder to talk about the lows. As he shared more, there was a sense that he's been doing a lot of reflecting, looking back on his journey, the choices he's made, and the experiences that have shaped him into who he is today. And in that reflection, there's growth. There's an understanding that life doesn't always follow the path we expect, that even when things seem certain, they can shift in ways we didn't see coming. But instead of resisting that reality, Gerry seems to be embracing it. There's something quietly powerful about that. He hasn't lost his sense of humor either, and that's one of the most refreshing parts of his personality. Even in moments that feel heavy, he finds a way to lighten the mood. A small joke, a playful comment, something that reminds everyone that life isn't just about the difficult moments. It's about how you move through them. And that balance between honesty and lightness is what keeps people drawn to him. At the same time, there's a noticeable change in how he talks about love. It's still there, that belief, that hope, but now it feels deeper, more grounded, less about the idea of love and more about the reality of it, the ups and downs, the unexpected turns, the moments that test you and the ones that remind you why it's all worth it. There's also a sense that he's learning to prioritize himself in a new way, not out of selfishness, but out of understanding, realizing that in order to show up fully for someone else, you have to first be honest with yourself. And that kind of awareness doesn't happen overnight. It comes from experience, from living through moments that challenge you, that push you to grow, that force you to see things from a different perspective. As people listened to his words, many began to see a different side of him, not just the romantic lead, but the person behind it all. Someone who's still figuring things out, someone who's still learning, someone who's still open to what comes next. And maybe that's what makes this chapter of his story so compelling, because it's not about having all the answers, it's about being willing to face the questions. There's been a lot of conversation about what this means for his future, what direction he'll take, what choices he'll make, how this moment will shape what comes next. But if there's one thing that's clear, it's this: he's not closing himself off. If anything, he's becoming more open, more willing to embrace whatever life brings, even if it's uncertain. And that kind of openness is where real growth happens. Of course, with that comes curiosity. People want to know, what's next for Gerry? Will he find himself stepping into a new chapter filled with love again? Will he take time to focus on himself, to rediscover what truly makes him happy? Or will it be a mix of both? The truth is, no one knows for sure. And maybe that's okay. Because sometimes the most meaningful stories are the ones that don't have a clear ending yet. They're still being written,
And right now, Gerry Turner's story feels like it's in the middle of an important chapter, one filled with reflection, growth, and the kind of honesty that resonates with people on a deeper level. There's also something inspiring about the way he's handling it all. No dramatic reactions, no attempts to control the narrative, just a steady, genuine approach to life as it unfolds. And in a world where everything moves so fast, that kind of authenticity stands out. It reminds people that it's okay to take things one step at a time, to feel what you feel, to not have everything figured out, and still move forward anyway. As this story continues, one thing remains certain. People are still watching, still supporting, still hoping for the best. Not because everything is perfect, but because it's real. And real stories are the ones that stay with us the longest. So whatever comes next for Gerry Turner, it's clear that this moment isn't the end of anything. If anything, it's the beginning of something new. A new perspective, a new chapter, a new opportunity to redefine what happiness looks like. And maybe, just maybe, something even more meaningful than before.
As this chapter continues to unfold, something even more unexpected begins to take shape around Gerry Turner. A quiet sense of renewal that no one really saw coming. Because after opening up the way he did, there was every reason to step back, to take time away, to process everything privately. But instead, what people are starting to notice is something different. He's not retreating, he's rediscovering. There's a lighter energy beginning to return, not all at once, not in a dramatic shift, but in small, meaningful ways. The kind that shows up in a smile that lingers a little longer, or a laugh that feels just a bit more genuine. It's almost like he's learning how to breathe again, but this time with a deeper understanding of himself. And that's where things start to get really interesting. Because when someone goes through an emotional turning point like this, it often changes how they see everything, especially love. For Gerry, love no longer feels like a destination he has to reach. It feels like something that should fit naturally into his life. No pressure, no expectations, just something real. There's been a growing sense that he's become more intentional about the connections he allows into his world, not closing doors, but being more mindful about which ones he chooses to walk through. And honestly, that kind of clarity is powerful. It means whatever comes next won't just be exciting, it'll be meaningful. At the same time, his sense of humor hasn't gone anywhere, and that's something people continue to love about him. Even as he navigates deeper emotions, he still finds moments to laugh at himself, to keep things light, to remind everyone that life doesn't have to feel heavy all the time. There are even moments where he playfully hints at how unpredictable life can be, almost like he's saying, "Who knows what's around the corner?" And that question alone has people watching even more closely, because unpredictability, that's where the magic usually happens. There's also been a noticeable shift in how he talks about companionship. It's no longer just about finding someone, it's about finding the right someone. Someone who understands the journey, who respects the growth, who adds to his life without trying to change it. And that's a different kind of love story, a more mature one, a more grounded one, the kind that doesn't rely on big gestures to prove itself, but instead builds quietly, steadily, over time. Some have even started to wonder if there's already someone new in his life. Nothing confirmed, of course, but the way he speaks, the subtle hints, the calm confidence, it's enough to make people curious. Not in a dramatic, headline-making way, but in that soft, intriguing way that keeps people guessing. And whether or not that's true, one thing is clear. He's not closing himself off from the possibility. If anything, he seems more open than ever, just wiser, more aware of what he wants and what he doesn't, more focused on building something that lasts rather than chasing something that simply looks good on the surface.
And maybe that's the biggest transformation of all, because it shows that even after emotional moments, even after unexpected turns, it's still possible to move forward, not by forgetting the past, but by learning from it. As the days go on, the conversation around him continues to grow. People are no longer just reacting to the update, they're connecting with it. They see parts of their own experiences reflected in his story. The uncertainty, the growth, the hope that things can still turn out beautifully, even if they don't go exactly as planned. And that's what makes this journey feel so relatable. It's not about perfection, it's about resilience. It's about continuing to believe in something good, even when things get complicated. There's also a quiet confidence in the way he carries himself now, a sense that he doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He's simply living his life one step at a time, and that authenticity is something people can't ignore. Because in a world full of noise, real moments stand out. And right now, Gerry Turner is living in one of those real moments. A moment that doesn't come with all the answers, but comes with something even more valuable: perspective, growth, and the possibility of something new. So while no one knows exactly what his next chapter will look like, there's a feeling that it's going to be different. Not louder, not more dramatic, just deeper, more intentional, more aligned with who he truly is. And maybe that's the biggest transformation of all, because it shows that even after emotional moments, even after unexpected turns, it's still possible to move forward, not by forgetting the past, but by learning.
As time continues to move forward, there's a quiet but undeniable shift happening in the life of Gerry Turner, one that feels less like a reaction to the past and more like a gentle step into something new. It's not loud, it's not rushed, but it's real. There's a growing sense that Gerry has started to appreciate the slower moments in a way he never fully did before. The simple routines, the peaceful mornings, the kind of days where nothing extraordinary happens, yet somehow everything feels exactly as it should. And maybe that's the point. Because after everything he's opened up about, it's clear that he's no longer chasing a perfect story. He's creating a meaningful one. There have been subtle hints that he's surrounding himself with the right kind of energy, people who bring calm instead of chaos, conversations that feel genuine instead of forced, moments that don't need to be shared with the world to be important. And in between all of that, something else begins to show. A quiet confidence. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that naturally draws it. He speaks a little more thoughtfully now, pauses a little longer, smiles in a way that suggests he's finally comfortable with where he is, even if he doesn't have everything figured out yet. And that kind of presence, it's powerful. At the same time, there's still that spark people fell in love with. That charm hasn't disappeared. It's just evolved. It shows up in the way he tells stories, in the way he finds humor in everyday situations, in the way he can still make people feel connected without even trying. There are even moments where he seems to laugh at the unpredictability of it all. Because, let's be honest, life rarely goes exactly how we plan it. And Gerry knows that now more than ever. But instead of letting that uncertainty hold him back, he's leaning into it. He's allowing himself to be open to possibilities without needing to control the outcome. And that mindset changes everything. There's also been a growing curiosity around what his next chapter in love might look like. Not in a rushed or pressured way, but in that natural, human way, where people wonder what comes after a moment of reflection. Will he choose to keep things private this time? Will he take a different approach, focusing more on connection than attention? Or will he surprise everyone once again, stepping into something unexpected? Whatever the answer may be, it's clear that he's not approaching it the same way as before. There's more intention now.
more awareness, more care in the way he allows someone into his life. And honestly, that makes the idea of what's next even more exciting, because it won't just be about romance, it'll be about compatibility, understanding, a shared sense of peace. There are even whispers, soft ones, that he's become more selective about how he spends his time, choosing quality over quantity, depth over distraction, and that says a lot. It shows that he's not just moving forward, he's moving forward with purpose. And in between all of that, there's still room for something lighter. Moments where he jokes about how life keeps surprising him. Moments where he doesn't take everything so seriously. Moments where he reminds everyone, including himself, that it's okay to enjoy the ride. Because at the end of the day, that's what this journey is about. Not just finding love, but living fully. And as this story continues, one thing becomes more and more clear. This isn't the end of anything. It's a transition, a turning point, a chance to step into something that feels more aligned, more genuine, more real than ever before. So while people may still be asking questions, still wondering what's coming next, there's a quiet understanding starting to settle in. Whatever it is, it's going to be different. Not because it has to be, but because he is. And sometimes that's all it takes to change the entire story. Because when someone grows, when they reflect, when they truly understand themselves, everything that comes next has the potential to be even better than what came before. And right now, with Gerry Turner, it feels like that something better isn't just possible, it's closer than ever.